Welcome back to my channel. On this occasion we are continuing with the Android and Cell arc, and we getting really close to the end of Dragon Ball Z. But before starting with our usual business, I want to make some clarifications about the previous videos and the series as a whole. First, I got a comment last time clarifying for me that these videos are just my opinion and I am not Akira Toriyama. And yes, I should have clarified before that these changes are just a personal idea, and as a matter of fact, I am not Akira, so I am sorry if there was any misunderstanding regarding that. Secondly, about the power levels itself, I've been trying to emphasize during the entire series that the level of a character are not the only factor that decides who wins in a fight. There are other factors such as mental state, limitations of a specific form, fighting styles, special abilities, skill, and so on. Is pure power the most important factor to win a fight? Yes, it is, especially if the difference of strength is too much, but at least for this pseudo-rewriting of the plot, I want to make a lot more emphasis into these other factors making a difference in a fight during the story. I could get a lot more into this, but perhaps I could make a shorter video about explaining my whole reasoning behind this power scaling. If you are interested, let me know. And third clarification, related to my two previous points. I am happy to read your take on these videos, like, what changes would you make to the Dragon Ball power scaling, or do you have any specific question about the power level I gave to certain character? Let me know in the comments, I would love to reply. With all of that being said, let's start from where we left off last video. By the end of the Frieza arc, the Super Saiyan Goku defeats him and is able to escape the explosion of planet Namek, and the rest of our heroes are revived and sent back to Earth. Around 2 years passes after the Namek events, and the relative peaceful times on Earth are possibly coming to an abrupt end. A renewed Frieza and his father, KingCold, are approaching the planet with thirst of vengeance. Every relevant fighter on Earth senses the powerful ki of both tyrants and reunites to defend their home planet even if they die while trying. But completely out of nowhere, an unknown warrior shows up and confronts the mechanized Frieza, but not before transforming into a Super Saiyan, surprising everyone present, including the tyrant. Completely vivid, upon looking at a Super Saiyan, Frieza, without thinking, goes into the offensive immediately, but the unknown warrior, Trunks, is able to dodge the attacks. Without playing around, like a pure Saiyan would do in a fight, the unknown warrior goes straight to the kill and slash Frieza into many pieces. This time, unlike Goku, Trunks finishes Frieza for good, killing him without mercy. His father KingCold, even after looking at his son being cut into pieces, instead of getting ready to fight properly the warrior, he decides to underestimate him and attribute the victory of the Saiyan to his sword, believing the weapon was the only reason he won. Once receiving the weapon, KingCold, unsurprisingly to anyone, tries to backstab Trunks, using his sword to attack him, without any of the mastery required to use it properly. Trunks blocks the attack and proceeds to blast KingCold's vital spot, killing him almost instantly. After this, Trunks meets Goku and warns him about the future androids and the future timeline. Now, let's start ranking in power Frieza. In the original story, the tyrant states that in his new mech form, he is stronger than before, and he can possibly deal with Goku in his Super Saiyan form by himself. Personally, I don't like the fact that we are already power creeping the strength of Goku and Frieza final form during the Namek fight, especially considering how hard Mech Frieza was fodderized by Trunks. So our first minor change is that Frieza, even in his mech form, still has trouble using his entire strength, and we only get to see him in his suppressed, final form transformation. In other words, Frieza can also go into his full power state even in his mech form. But the question remains. Is Frieza in his mech form stronger than his previous version? My answer is yes and no. In terms of raw power, Mech Frieza is more powerful, although not by too much. But at the same time, he is weaker from the perspective that he doesn't have his original body, and he is mostly a cyborg. In other words, Frieza is not accustomed at using his new mechanized body, especially when it comes to fighting, and the only reason he decided to go to Earth so early, despite these flaws, is because Frieza is a crybaby, and he got his daddy to help him this time. So considering the changes I just mentioned, Trunks was able to kill Frieza so easily not only due to the difference of power, but all the circumstances surrounding the tyrant. Plus, evidently, Frieza was totally not thinking straight after seeing a Super Saiyan, so he fighted even more poorly against a serious Trunks. With that being said, I give Mech Frieza a level of 30, and to an hypothetical, full-power mech form, a level of 31, just a few decimals ahead from his original body. Next, we have KingCold, who in the original story has a power level around Mech Frieza and possibly slightly stronger. A change I would do is to make KingCold around the strength of the suppressed form of Mech Frieza. Now, how KingCold got beaten so easily despite his power? Well, one of the reasons is that he was so arrogant that instead of using his own power, he decided to use a sword that he never wielded before to kill someone stronger than him. Another reason is that KingCold lacks a refined ki control similar to his son, and also, he doesn't know how to sense ki, so he didn't just completely miscalculated the true power of Trunks, but also, he didn't properly impregnate the sword with his ki to empower it beyond its natural capabilities. There are a lot of theories about KingCold, claiming he was in his second form, and that he have at least 2 other transformations, making him way stronger than what we actually saw in the story. Personally, I also believe this theory, but at the moment, I haven't thought of how much power KingCold really have. So, let me know in the comments what's your opinion in the matter, how powerful you think KingCold really was. Regarding Trunks' power level in the original story, he should be around Goku's. Personally, I rank him below him only due to the fact that I want to keep the original, supposed legendary Super Saiyan as the strongest warrior, at least for now. I want to rank Goku after coming back from the planet Yadrat nearly the same in power as during his fight against Frieza in Namek. In the original story, I assume he got stronger, but personally, being able to transform into Super Saiyan at will and also learning the teleportation technique are impressive increase of power by themselves, even if it's not exactly raw power. Moving on, 3 years passes since the arrival of Trunks, and our heroes trained extensively, preparing to fight against the cyborgs, androids. Eventually, the time comes and the warriors gather to face the powerful androids. Their names are simply Android 19 and Android 20, the latter being the genius Dr. Gero. To avoid any casualty, Goku himself decides to fight the androids alone, using his Super Saiyan. Dr. Gero reveals he has been spying on Goku and the others, but he didn't expect such a powerful form. Despite that, he is sure that they will be able to beat him and Android 19 start the fight against Saiyan. At first, Goku have the upper hand over the android, but something seems off. The Saiyan is clearly struggling, despite not yet receiving direct damage from 19. At first, Goku's allies believe the android is absorbing his energies by using the devices in his hands that he used previously to absorb an energy blast from Goku, but soon they realize that Goku is having a heart attack due to the sickness that Trunks warned him about. Our hero can't keep up due to the symptoms, and sooner than later, he is defeated by the clown android. But before he is eliminated, our hero is saved by no other than the Prince of all Saiyan, Vegeta. The prince has been training extensively during the last 3 years, and thanks to his efforts, he was able to achieve the Super Saiyan transformation. Proud of himself, Vegeta fights Android 19 and proceeds to brutally defeat him, even letting him to absorb his power just to confirm how the androids are able to drain energy. Dr. Gero escapes to his lab, hoping to activate the remaining androids, but not before being momentarily overpowered by Piccolo himself, who has increased his strength considerably since the Namek events. Before we continue with the story, let's rank the relevant characters so far. First, we have the androids 19 and 20. In the original story, both of them were below the power of a Super Saiyan, although Dr. Gero believed they should be able to beat one of them if they increase their own strength by draining the Saiyan energy. So, I think it's fair to say that the android's base power should be above the Saiyan base form, and after increasing their strength by draining energy, they should be somewhat closer to a Super Saiyan power, although still weaker overall. After all, Dr. Gero only spied on our heroes till the Vegeta fight during the Saiyan arc, and he just calculated how much stronger they could possibly become, and assumed that reaching the power level of a Super Saiyan wasn't possible. So, giving the androids a level below 30 is fair, especially if we consider that they can drain energy from their opponents, and also, they can take advantage of their lack of ki, making it impossible for the others to sense them. Next, we have Vegeta, who in the original story, increased his power immensely after training for 3 years, and it was heavily implied that he surpassed Goku. I feel like this is okay for the most part, although, I would like to not make the increase of power too big, stating that the bigger gains in strength from Vegeta were mostly through the Super Saiyan form and not necessarily his base power. One of my reasons is because it was stated later in the story that the Saiyan were almost at their limit and their only way to increase their power even more was by reaching a stronger transformation. I will get into this more later. Also, I would like to keep the base power of the Saiyan below the 30 tier. With that being said, I rank Vegeta base strength over 28.5, surpassing Goku. And in his Super Saiyan form, I rank Vegeta a power of 31, surpassing Goku's by a few decimals. In the original story, Goku trained with Gohan and Piccolo for 3 years in preparation for the androids, but due to his sickness, we couldn't really see how much he improved since then, but it can be assumed that he is weaker than Vegeta since Piccolo himself stated that the prince is stronger than Goku, and he should know how powerful the latter is since they trained together. In any case, Goku power rank will stay pretty much the same, only very slightly stronger. If I had to give a reason for the lack of improvement, I would say it was mainly because Goku focused in helping Piccolo, and especially Gohan, to catch up in terms of power with him. Moving on to Piccolo, in the original story, the Namekian improved a lot thanks to Goku during the 3 years of training. Reaching a power that shouldn't be too far from Goku in his Super Saiyan form during the Namek arc, and considering how hard he was beating Dr. Gero, it doesn't sound too far-fetched. So, I rank Piccolo from a power of 28 to 30.5. I would like to take note that Piccolo after fusing with Nail increased his overall latent potential, so even a normal training did wonders to his strength. Finally, we have the rest of the Z fighters, who sadly, all of them, with the exception of Gohan, became irrelevant in terms of power. I will go through all of them very fast, since there isn't much to explain, but I want to keep them somewhat close to the strength of the Saiyan in their base form. Yamcha and Tien, post-King Kai training, have a level of 22 and 23 respectively, and after training for 3 years, and applying the teaching of King Kai, they reach a power level of 26 and 28 respectively. Admittedly, I am biased towards Tien, since he is one of the most hard-working fighters in the entire story, and he never stopped training, so if I have any chance to boost him without meddling with the story, I'll do it. Krillin, before the training, had a power very close to 25, and after the 3 years, he reaches a level over 28, slightly ahead of Tien, but below base form Goku. Finally, we have Gohan with a power of 27, and after training for 3 years, he reached a level of over 28, close to Goku during the Namek arc. Fast forward into the story, Dr. Gero is able to activate both androids 17 and 18, but they in turn, crush Gero's head. Both androids ignore our heroes for the most part, but naturally, the prince's ego is too big to handle such disrespect and taunt the androids to fight him. Android 18 eventually accepts the challenge and fights Vegeta one-on-one. At the beginning, it looks like both warriors are somewhat even, but as time goes on, the weakness of such a powerful, yet taxing for the body transformation, such as the Super Saiyan, start showing, especially against an android that possesses unlimited amount of energy and stamina. Eventually, Android 18 overpowers Vegeta and defeats the Saiyan very decisively, not only breaking his arm, but also his ego. At this point, poor Trunks, upon seeing this, probably is recalling past traumatic events in his head, and without being able to control himself, he charges in to fight the android, attempting to save his father, but without even realizing, he is assaulted pretty hard from behind by Android 17, almost knocking him out. Piccolo and Chad Tien also joins in to help Trunks out, but obviously, after seeing how the two androids defeated two Super Saiyan with relative ease, they should know that they have no chance of winning, but they try anyway, and consequently, Android 17 subdue both of them. After this humiliating defeat, Vegeta realizes that the Super Saiyan form is not enough to beat the androids, and decides to train again, with the objective to reach an even stronger transformation. In the other hand, Piccolo finally accepted that it's time to fuse with Kami-sama. Now, it is time to talk about the power level of both androids 17 and 18, and I have a lot of thoughts about this whole topic. In the original story, Android 17 and 18 are way stronger than Frieza, there is no doubt about that, but the real question is how in the hell Dr. Gero was able to build two androids that did not only have unlimited energy, but also were even more powerful than the Emperor of the Universe Frieza? I would be open to believe it if we were shown incredible advanced technology by the habitants from Earth, but in the story, it is not particularly high in comparison to other places in the universe. I tried to come up to some possible explanations, and the one that to me made the most sense is that Dr. Gero was somehow able to recollect incredible advanced data and technology from the spaceship used by Frieza to land on Earth, but then again, it was destroyed by Trunks, and also, Dr. Gero probably didn't even know about Frieza coming to Earth, since it was his supercomputer that collected the DNA of Frieza and his father. The only way to make this theory fit is to change some parts of the story, but maybe one of you that is watching this video come up with a good explanation for this whole matter about the android's power. If you have, feel free to share. After searching for some ideas in the internet, I found one that I enjoyed quite a lot, and I think it has a lot of potential, and it essentially goes as follows. Dr. Gero used all the data recollected by his spy robots related to the fights and the training regimen of our heroes and used it as mental simulations for Android 17 and 18 and even Android 16. The androids went through countless of simulations in their head, and if we add their unlimited energy, it created a perpetual state of training without the need of actually using their bodies. By using this method, Dr. Gero increased the power of the androids to exorbitant levels and stopped the simulations once he felt that it may be too dangerous. The idea of mental simulations increasing the power of the fighter has actually happened in the story before, since we have seen Krillin and Gohan using this training method when they were traveling to Namek, and I assume Piccolo also does something similar by using meditation. Also, this would explain why the androids from the future timeline are weaker than the present ones, but we are going to get more into that later. Thanks to the user of Quora, Professor Prel, for coming up with this idea. With all of that being said, I rank both Android 17 and 18 to a power level of 32, making them stronger than the likes of Frieza, but not by a huge margin. They also are not particularly stronger than the Super Saiyans, but having the advantage of unlimited energy and stamina, plus not having a detectable ki, feels like a huge enough advantage, so we don't really have any need to make the androids so much stronger than them as it was portrayed in the original story.